It started small. A shift in the hum on a specific tower, Tower 7 on the Henderson County Run, about 6 miles outside of town, on a stretch of farmland. Nothing that would show up on diagnostics, nothing that would trigger an alert. Just a pattern in the sound that I recognized, because I'd heard it once before, on the day Darnell died. I started keeping a logbook after the 3rd time it happened. I wrote down everything: the date, the tower number, the time, the weather conditions, the specific characteristics of the sound, and I started asking the older linemen questions, carefully, the way you ask questions when you're afraid of the answer. What I found out is that I was not the first. There is an unofficial set of rules that passes between veteran linemen, not written down anywhere official, not in any training manual. Passed person to person quietly, the way you pass something you're not sure you should be talking about at all. An older lineman named Petrosian, 30 years on the lines and about to retire, took me aside one afternoon after I'd been asking too many questions. "You're hearing it," he said. It wasn't a question. "I don't know what I'm hearing," I said. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I'm going to tell you some things. You're going to think I'm crazy. Follow them anyway." What he told me became the rules I've lived by for the past 2.5 years. The rules that have kept me alive. The rules that I now believe Darnell was trying to warn me about before I knew there was anything to warn me about. The lineman's unwritten rules, passed down between veterans, not in any manual. Follow them anyway. Rule 1. When the hum on a high voltage line shifts to a rhythmic pattern, not random fluctuation, but a steady, repeating cadence, stop what you are doing. Do not continue working until the pattern stops. Rule 2. If the pattern repeats 3 times in a row with the same rhythm, descend from the structure immediately. Do not finish the job. A missed repair is survivable. What happens if you stay may not be. Rule 3. Never work Tower 7 alone. This rule applies specifically to the Henderson County Run, but veterans will tell you every region has a Tower 7. You will know yours when you find it. Rule 4. If your voltage meter gives a reading that is impossible, higher than the line is rated for, or lower than physics should allow, do not tap it and assume it is broken. Log the reading and report it. The meter is not broken. Rule 5. You will sometimes smell something burning when no fault exists and no visible cause is present. This is called a ghost burn. Log it. If the smell is strongest at the point where a previous fatality occurred on that line, leave the structure. Rule 6. If the man working above you on a structure stops moving and does not respond to your call, do not climb to him. Descend and call from the ground. Climbing towards something that has gone silent on a high voltage structure has killed more men than equipment failure. Rule 7. There are certain weather conditions, not storms, not high winds, but a specific combination of high humidity, dropping temperature, and still air, where the lines become unpredictable in ways that instruments cannot detect. The veterans call this condition a dead sky. If the sky looks and feels wrong in a way you cannot name, trust that feeling. Rule 8. If you hear your name in the hum of a line, you have 24 hours to identify which tower the sound is strongest at. Mark that tower. Do not work that tower alone for the next 30 days. Rule 9. Some towers have what veterans call a cold spot, a section of the structure where the temperature is measurably lower than surrounding air with no meteorological explanation. Do not anchor your safety line to any point within a cold spot. The equipment will hold. You will still fall. Rule 10. If a deceased coworker's name appears in your logbook in your own handwriting and you have no memory of writing it, do not erase it. Date it. Show it to the most senior man on your crew. He will know what it means. Rule 11. There is a frequency of electromagnetic interference that causes some linemen to experience what they describe as a presence on the structure with them, a feeling of being watched, of not being alone. This is documented and real. If the feeling becomes a certainty rather than a feeling, complete your descent using only the handholds on the west-facing side of the structure. We do not know why the west side matters. It does. Rule 12. Do not take photographs on Tower 7 or its regional equivalents. Several linemen have done this over the years. The photographs show things that were not visible to the naked eye at the time they were taken. Seeing those photographs has ended careers, and in 2 cases we know of, lives. Rule 13. If the lines go completely silent, not low, not quiet, but fully silent, zero hum, as if the current has stopped, do not assume a fault or outage. Descend immediately. Complete silence on a live line means something has changed about the environment around you that your instruments are not measuring. Rule 14. The names of linemen who died on the Henderson County run are written inside the maintenance panel of Tower 7. This was not done by the power company. Nobody knows who started it. Add the names of your crew to your logbook when you join a new run. If a name appears in the Tower 7 panel that matches someone on your current crew, report it to Petrosian or whoever has taken his place. Do not tell the man whose name it is. Rule 15. If you are working a structure and the hum shifts into the pattern, the specific rhythmic cadence that veterans will recognize immediately, and you hear within that pattern something that sounds like words, do not try to understand the words. Do not repeat them. Do not write them down. Descend and do not return to that structure for 72 hours. Rule 16. Some men who have worked the lines long enough report seeing a figure on distant towers, a silhouette at the top of a structure miles away that should not be occupied. Do not report this through official channels. Log it privately. If the figure appears on a tower your crew is scheduled to work within the next week, find a reason to delay that job. Rule 17. When a veteran lineman retires or dies, find out which towers they worked most frequently. Those towers will be quieter for a while afterward. Then they will not be quiet anymore. This is normal. We do not discuss why. Petrosian gave me most of those rules in a single conversation. The rest I learned from 2 other veterans over the following months, and the last 3 I wrote myself, based on what I experienced. I asked Petrosian where the rules came from originally. They've been around as long as the lines, he said. Probably longer than the lines. I think the rules came first and the lines just gave them a new home. I asked him if he'd ever heard his own name in the hum. He looked at me for a long time. Once, he said, 30 years ago. Tower 7 on the Clarkson run. I followed the rule. Spent 30 years following all of them. He paused. I'm still here. He retired 2 weeks after that conversation. I haven't spoken to him since. Now I need to tell you about Darnell. The first time I found his name in my logbook was 8 months after he died. I was reviewing entries from the previous week, and there it was, on a Tuesday. Just his name, written in my handwriting, no other context, no date notation beyond the standard header. Darnell. I stared at it for a long time. I'd had Rule 10 by then. I knew what to do. I dated it, and I called Petrosian. It's him, Petrosian said. Not surprised, not skeptical, just matter of fact, the way a doctor tells you a test result. What does it mean? I said. It means he's trying to tell you something, Petrosian said. The question is whether you're ready to listen. Learning to listen took months. I'm not going to pretend it was anything other than terrifying. Going up on those towers every day, knowing that somewhere in the hum, there was a message I was supposed to be receiving from a man I watched die, is not something you just accept and move on from. It sat in my chest like a stone for a long time, but I kept going up because it's my job and because some part of me understood that Darnell was not trying to frighten me. He was trying to protect me. The pattern I heard on Tower 7, the rhythmic cadence that Petrosian had described and I now recognized, began appearing on a different tower. Tower 12 on the Henderson Run. A structure I'd worked dozens of times without incident. It appeared 3 days in a row. Rule 2. Descend immediately on the third repetition. On the fourth day, Ortega went up Tower 12 without me. I'd called in sick for the first time in 4 years. Something I still can't fully explain except to say that I woke up that morning and couldn't make myself drive to the yard. Ortega came down fast, mid-morning. Equipment malfunction, he said. A fitting that should have been solid had worked itself loose overnight in a way the inspection hadn't caught. If he'd been 20 feet higher when it went, the investigation report would have said equipment failure. It would have been fast. He wouldn't have felt anything. I've thought about telling Ortega, about telling Briggs and Hayes, about going to the company and putting every word of this in an official report, but I know what happens then. I've seen what happened to the linemen who tried to make this official. Petrosian told me about 2 of them. One is working a desk job in the company's billing department. One left the industry entirely. The rules don't exist in any manual because the company can't acknowledge what the veterans know. That acknowledgement would open doors that nobody in a boardroom wants opened. So the rules pass person to person the way they always have. Tower to tower, generation to generation. Darnell knew them. I know now that he knew them, had known them for years before he died. I found a page in an old notebook of his that his wife gave me when she cleared out his work locker, a page with a list on it, in his handwriting. 12 of the 17 rules he knew. He'd been following them for years. And on the day he died, on the day the equipment failed in a way that should have been caught, on a tower he'd worked 100 times, something had changed. I looked back at the crew logs for that day, checked the weather records, checked the maintenance history, and I found something that has never left me. The day Darnell died, Tower 7 on the Henderson Run, 3 miles from where we were working, had logged a complete line silence at 9:47 a.m. Rule 13. Complete silence on a live line. He would have been on a different structure by then. He wouldn't have known. Nobody told him because nobody was listening. I'm telling you this now because 3 weeks ago it happened again. I found a name in my logbook. Not Darnell's name this time. Mine. Rule 8. 24 hours to find which tower the sound is strongest at. Mark it. Don't work it alone for 30 days. I found the tower. I marked it. I haven't told Briggs yet. I'm going to tell him tomorrow. I'm telling you tonight because, and I know how this sounds, Darnell has been quiet for 6 days. Complete silence. The way the lines go silent before something changes. And I've learned to listen to silence. I don't know what's coming. I don't know if the rules will be enough this time. But I know that Darnell spent 15 years on those lines learning how to keep his crew safe, and even after everything, he's still doing that job. I know that following the rules has kept me and my crew alive, and I know that somewhere out there on the Henderson County Run, on a cold steel tower, standing against the winter sky, the lines are humming. I'm listening. I'm going to keep listening. If you work the lines, if you've ever heard the pattern, felt the dead sky, found a name that shouldn't be there, you already know these rules. Follow them. And if someone on your crew stops listening, find a way to make them hear. Because the lines are always talking. And sometimes what they're saying is the only thing standing between your crew and a report that says equipment failure. It was fast. They wouldn't have felt anything.